That Christmas Eve started out simple. The BTS members gathered in a warm atmosphere, adorned with small lights and soft, soothing laughter. There was no grand stage, no cheering crowd, just 7 friends sharing a moment amidst their busy lives. Taehyung suddenly stood up, clutching a small, unnecessary microphone. With his trademark gentle smile, he turned to Jungkook. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. "Merry Christmas, Jungkook," Taehyung said quietly but meaningfully. It wasn't a long sentence, not a grand speech. But his tone was filled with warmth, gratitude, and memories of the long journey they had traveled together. Taehyung continued with simple words about hard work, togetherness, and his hope that Jungkook would always be healthy and happy. As the youngest member, who always tries to be strong for everyone, Jungkook looked down. His eyes welled with tears. The smile he had forced slowly crumbled as tears finally fell. Seeing this, the other members fell silent as well. Jin took a deep breath, Jimin covered his face, RM closed his eyes, while Suga and J-Hope could only smile with emotion. No one expected such a short Christmas greeting to unlock the emotions they had been holding back. Cries broke out, not from sadness, but from gratitude for each other. In that moment, BTS wasn't just a world-famous music group, but 7 individuals who had grown together, strengthening each other, and sharing both pain and joy. That Christmas night was a reminder that togetherness and sincerity are often stronger than long words. And for BTS, that one simple greeting from Taehyung has become a memory they will always hold dear. The silence after the tears was long, but warm. Taehyung approached and hugged Jungkook without saying a word. The hug seemed to be the answer to all the exhaustion, stress, and struggles that weren't always visible behind their smiles on stage. One by one, the other members stood up. Jin patted Jungkook's shoulder with a gentle smile, as if to tell him everything would be okay. Jimin held Jungkook's hand tightly, while RM quietly said that moments like this were the reason they'd stayed together this long. Suga and J-Hope nodded in agreement. Words were few, but meaningful. That Christmas night wasn't about gifts or lavish celebrations. What remained was gratitude for still being able to sit together, laugh and cry as a family. They realized that, amidst the changes and the passing of time, their bond remained intact. Jungkook finally lifted his head. With a trembling voice, he expressed his gratitude, not just for Taehyung, but for everyone. He promised to continue walking together, no matter what the future held. The small lights flickered on, the soft music played again, and laughter slowly returned. But the memory of that Christmas greeting will always remain, a reminder that behind the glitz and glamour of the world, BTS has each other. And sometimes, a simple sentence is enough to fill the heart. The night wore on, but neither of them wanted it to end. They sat in a circle, sharing little stories they rarely shared, about simple dreams, buried fatigue, and hopes they wanted to cherish together. Occasionally, laughter broke out, interrupting the lingering tears that hadn't yet fully dried. Taehyung glanced at Jungkook once more, and then spoke jokingly to lighten the mood. Jungkook laughed, though his eyes were still puffy. He nodded, as if understanding that the touching moment wasn't a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to the strength of their bond. Outside, Christmas Eve was quiet. Inside the small room, the warmth was even more palpable. BTS realized that their journey would likely continue to change. A different stage, the passage of time, and challenges that came one after another. But that night reminded them of one important thing. They weren't walking alone. Before parting, they wished each other a Merry Christmas. There were no cameras, no applause. Just honesty, gratitude, and a silent promise to continue looking after each other. And among all the greetings that night, Taehyung's simple words will always be remembered. A simple Merry Christmas that touched hearts, united emotions, and bound 7 friends closer than ever. Time finally forced them to rest. One by one, they rose from their seats, still with their gentle smiles remaining. Before entering their respective rooms, RM paused and looked at the other 6 members. He said that moments like this might be rare for the world to see, but they are precisely what has laid the foundation for BTS. J-Hope added lightly that the crying that night was healthy crying, making the others chuckle. The atmosphere returned to a warm, balanced balance of emotion and joy. Suga reminded them to keep this moment in their hearts, not on camera, because the most precious memories don't always need to be shared. Jungkook walked slowly to his room. Before closing the door, he turned to Taehyung and nodded slowly. There were no words, but the meaning was clear. The Christmas greeting gave him strength. Taehyung returned with a small smile, confident that their togetherness would endure, no matter what. Christmas Eve passed, leaving behind a peaceful silence. Tomorrow, the world would once again see BTS as superstars. But behind it all, they are still 7 people who have sat together, cried together, and been strengthened by one simple word, which proves that true friendship always finds its way to the heart. Time passed, but the impact of that Christmas Eve remained. In every practice, amidst their busy schedules, even when they laughed together in the waiting room, there was a new warmth that was hard to describe. It was as if Taehyung's simple words had become a small bond that strengthened their hearts once again. One day, during a casual conversation, Jungkook finally spoke up. He said that night gave him the courage to be more honest with himself, that it was okay to feel tired, that it was okay to lean on others. His words brought silence to the room again, but this time without tears. There were only knowing smiles. Jimin nodded in agreement, Jin chimed in with a light-hearted joke, and Suga remarked that moments like that were rare but meaningful. J-Hope patted Jungkook's hand enthusiastically, while RM smiled proudly at how they had all grown together, not just as musicians, but as people. Taehyung himself never expected that Christmas greeting to leave such a lasting impression. To him, it was simply an expression of the heart. But it was precisely from that sincerity that a small miracle occurred, a reminder that sincere words always find their way, and every Christmas in the years to come, they would remember that night. A night with no stage, no spotlights, just 7 friends supporting each other. A simple, yet timeless, story that will live on among them as part of BTS's journey. The years continued to change, taking BTS to new places and experiences. But amidst these changes, there was one small tradition they had unconsciously begun. Every Christmas Day, no matter how busy their schedules were, there was always a brief moment to text each other or gather for a moment, just to offer good wishes. For Jungkook, that moment always felt special. He remembered how a simple word had strengthened him when he needed it most. Now, he was learning to do the same, encouraging his fellow members with sincere words, just as he had received them. One night, Jungkook smiled and said that Christmas for him was no longer just a date on the calendar, but a reminder of togetherness. Hearing this, Taehyung paused for a moment, then grinned broadly. He knew, without realizing it, that Christmas Eve had taken on a greater meaning than he had ever imagined. BTS moved forward with renewed confidence. Not because they never tired or wavered, but because they knew where to return, to togetherness, to honesty, and to the bond they had built together. And beneath the glitter of an ever-changing world, one simple memory remains in their hearts. A Christmas greeting that once brought tears to their eyes, but also gave them strength. A small story that will live on, as long as the 7 friends continue to walk side by side. Those memories slowly became part of their identity. Not something often shared publicly, but rather a quiet story only they understood. Amidst the cheers of concerts and major achievements, that Christmas moment remained a meaningful quiet spot, a place where they could return to being themselves. Once, during a casual interview, someone asked what togetherness meant to BTS. No one gave a long answer. But Jungkook glanced at Taehyung and smiled slightly. A simple answer emerged, about reminding each other, strengthening each other, even with very few words. The other members nodded, understanding the meaning that needed no explanation. Because they knew that togetherness wasn't always about being in the same place, but about being there at the right time, when one of them needed it. Christmas after Christmas passed, but its meaning never faded. Every greeting, Merry Christmas, now always echoed old memories. It wasn't tears that fell, but a warmth that lingered in their hearts, And as long as BTS continued to move forward, those memories would continue to travel with them.